Okay, so let's work through some examples.
We should do 44.
We should do 44. All right, write down the problem. Thanks, Austin. No, Mason. Sorry. Of all the people I expected to bring me homework, wasn't you? To bring me pizza, though, is the question.
You know why it's not brand? You probably already ate it.
Wyatt had an accident last night.
Oh, shoot.
It was,
Okay, get this filled out. You have this on your paper? Okay, so we have to solve for y. In order to solve for y, we're going to do the opposite of what's going on here. What's going on here? Multiplying. So we're going to do the opposite of what's going on. If it's multiplying by 2/5, that means we have to do what? Divide by 2/5. How do I divide fractions? Flip the second fraction and multiply. So your paper should look like that. You should have all that written down. You got all that written down?
no, not yet.
Well, I wasn't talking to you, so.
Oh, there's my eraser.
Didn't have an eraser? Imagine that. No markers, no erasers. My whiteboards are all chipped. Must be middle of the year.
Are these new?
The whiteboards? No.
The ones of mine that are shower boards that have been here the whole time when we
Uh-huh.
they're still going. They look bad, but
Right. As long as you can still write on them. Okay, so on this first side, these two fractions just cancel each other out. The 5s and the 5s and the 2s and the 2s, and that just leaves us this y hanging out over here. What can I cancel out on this side over here, Blake?
10,
The 10 and the 5. What would my 10 become?
or 2.
A 2, and my 5 would be a... So when I multiply straight across, 3 times 1 would be... And 2 times 2 is...
4,
So y equals
3,
3/4.
You want to erase that yet?
No, you may not shut the window. If you're cold, move over to the other side of the room. It's hot over here. Ah, shoot. Mikey, you got that wrote down?
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's do the next problem. This is problem number 46. 4/5 plus x/4 equals 21/20. Okay, this is one of those we talked about at the end of yesterday, where when we're adding these fractions together, if we multiply our whole equation by the least common denominator, we're able to get rid of those fractions altogether. Okay, so what would the least common denominator of all these numbers be? 20. So we're going to multiply the whole thing by 20.
Is this notes or what is this?
No, this
This
is
is our homework.
today's assignment.
Right.
So if I write it out as multiplying each part of that fraction by 20, this is what it's going to look like. Then I can go through and multiply or reduce or cancel, however you want to work through it. So Austin, what do we want to do on this first one? Multiply the top. Okay, so 20 times 4 is divided by 5. 16. Another way to do that would have been to say this 5 and 20 can cancel out, leaving us with a 4 up here and a 1 down here. Okay, then you don't have to do that 80 divided by 5 in your head. You just take that 4 times 4. So then we're adding the next part of this. We have 20 times x divided by 4. What would 20x divided by 4 be, Mikey? Well, maybe you should quit picking at your fingernails, pay attention, and tell me what 20 divided by 4 is. It's 20 divided by 4. It is. It's a number you should know. Not 2. It is 5. 20 divided by 4 is 5, so that becomes a nice even 5x. When I look at this last part, if it's easier for you to think of this as a 20 with a 1 under it, as two separate fractions we're multiplying here, we can write it that way. You don't have to include that 1 if you don't want to. What can I cancel out here? The 20s. And then I'm left with just 21 over 1, or 21. Those cancel out. 314.
So you wouldn't just multiply 20 times 21?
You could, and then divide by 20. You're going to get that same answer.
Okay.
Yep, just if you cancel out, it saves you doing that multiplication and division.
Okay.
322.
314. 314 is the page that we are on. So now I have this equation without any fractions that I can work through. What's my first step, Mikey?
Multiply. Do something.
Gonna do something.
Add. Divide. Subtract.
There you go. We're gonna subtract. What am I subtracting?
16.
That's 16. Let's get rid of it. We want our x by itself. So we're going to move our 16 across the equals sign. We're getting rid of that, and that leaves me with 5x's. What's 21 minus 16? 5. What's my final step, Valeria? Divide by 5. I still have that 5 hanging out with my x. These are going to cancel out and leave me with just an x over here. What's 5 divided by 5? 1. Pretend like that 5's not there. It's not 15. X is 1. Just ran out of room. We ready for the next one? The next one is number 48 on your homework for today, so you should probably write down all these steps. 5/16 A equals 5/6. What do I have going on in this problem? Multiplication. So how do I have to solve for that variable? Divide. How do I divide fractions? Multiply by the reciprocal. So I flipped my second fraction and we'll change my sign to multiply. Oh, sorry, I forgot to take attendance. Laura's not here.
Okay, that's what I was coming down to check. That's what I heard, and then I'm like, she never came over absent. Maybe she showed up because I went upstairs and the boys that were missing there were there still.
So excited to get started on math today. I forgot to do attendance. I apologize. My bad. Okay, so what's my first step after our next step? Not first step, I guess. Next step. I could multiply. You know me, though, I'm lazy. I don't want to multiply these big numbers. Let's cross cancel a little bit. Okay, so on this side, these are just going to cancel each other completely out and just leave me with an A. On this side, what can I do? Let's cross out the 5s. Each of them become a 1 because 5 goes into 5 one time. Can I cancel out my 6 and 16 with anything? What can divide into both 6 and 16? 2. So what is 6 divided by 2?
3,
And what is 16 divided by 2?
8,
So now I'm multiplying my new numbers. 1 times 8 is, and 3 times 1 is. And I could leave it like that, or I could say that A equals how many times does 3 go into 8? 2. Do what now? 2 2/3. Got that wrote down? Blake?
Maybe we can get through all these today.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. And then you wouldn't have any homework.
Maybe we do.
And you would have shown all of your work on all of your problems so I could give everybody 100%.
Legitimately, we just turn these in.
Legitimately, if we get done before the bell rings with all of these, yeah. Better keep moving then. Next one is number 50. Number 50 says I have 30 ends. And I am subtracting 34 ends. And that equals 3/20. When you look at this problem, what's the first thing your mind tells you that you should probably do? Combine our like terms. I have a 30 in and minus 34n. So when I combine those like terms, what am I going to end up with? Negative 4n. So now I have a negative 4n equals 3/20ths. What is going on in this problem with my variable? Multiplication. So how do I solve for my variable? Divide. If I divide this side by 4, a negative 4, then I also have to divide this side by a negative 4, and it turns into one of those complex fractions we talked about earlier last week. These cancel out and leave me with an n. How do I do this? Blake, you remember? Flip and multiply. So I end up with 3/20. When I flip my negative 4, what does it become? It's a whole number, so when I flip it, it becomes 1/4. It has that invisible 1 underneath it, so when I flip it, it becomes 1/4. Is there anything I can cross cancel here? So 3 times negative 1 is? And 20 times 4 is? Do what? Did you sit here having a great time and this is the most fun you've had all week? Yeah, I thought those were the words you said. Yes. Best time ever. Everybody got this one? (52y/7) minus 2 equals 1/7. What are we going to do to this problem? We're subtracting two fractions. One of them has a variable in it. We're subtracting a fraction and a whole number, sorry. One of them has a variable in it. What are we going to do?
Good question.
Good question. That's why I asked it. Exactly why I asked it. What do I need to do? What's up? Not all the way, just most of the way. Mason was starting to shiver.
I can't see it.
Well, then move up to the front.
Like everything's blurry, even this is blurry.
Oh,
I hit my head pretty hard last night.
no. Maybe you should have went to the doctor. We do. We multiply by what? By the least common denominator. If I put a 1 underneath that 2 and turn it into a fraction as well, I'm going to multiply by my least common denominator, which is 7. And I can write that as a 7/1 if that makes it easier for you to think of it as multiplying these fractions. So I have 7/1 times y/7 minus 7/1 times 2/1 equals 7/1 times 1/7. Remember, we have to multiply that all the way through our equal signs. Everything must be multiplied by that 7. Austin, what is in this first set of fractions that I can cross cancel? The 7s. So that leaves me a y over 1 or just y. Is there anything in this fraction or in this set of fractions here I can cancel, Mason?
No.
No, there is not. I have a 7 and a 1 across from each other and a 2 and a 1 across from each other. So I just have to multiply those straight across. Then I have a 7 over 1 times 1 over 7. Blake, what can I cross cancel here? The 7 and the 7, and those would both become. So if I had 1 times 1 over 1 times 1, what does that equal? 1. Now I have an equation that simply has whole numbers where we have to solve for our y. What do I do to solve for that y? Mikey? Add. What am I adding? 14. Right now the y has 14 being taken away from it, so I need to add 14 to both sides to get that y by itself. So y equals 15. Everybody got this one written down? Let's move on to the next one. 54.
8 over 11 minus 1 over 2.
When we look at this one, this is where we struggled at the end of yesterday's lesson. There is no equals sign. Okay? So I cannot multiply my whole thing times that number. I have to get a common denominator and combine. There's also no variable, right? So when we're done, we should just end up with a number. We should be able to combine these two fractions to equal a number. How do I subtract these two fractions? We have to have a common denominator. What would my common denominator be between 11 and 2? 22. So I'm taking this side times whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. And I'm taking this side times 11. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. What is 2 times 8? And 2 times 11 is, and from that I am subtracting 1 times 11, which is over. Now I can combine these, even though there's not an equal sign there, I can still combine these because they are like terms. What is 16 minus 11? Over 22.
So would you put the equal sign in or no?
No equal sign.
Okay, that's weird.
It is so weird. It is so weird. I don't know why they would give us that. It makes me frustrated a little bit.
And
Because,
where would you not want to find the answer,
right? And we're still finding the answer.
right?
We're
But we're not calling it.
we're combining like terms.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, let's do the next one. Hello. So we're on 56, right? This is number 56. 1/4 x equals a -2. What is going on with my variable in this problem? Multiplication. So we have to divide. We have to do that opposite. In order to divide by a fraction, I have to flip and multiply. Going to flip and multiply my 1/4 into a 4/1. These are going to cancel out, leaving me with just an x hanging out over there. Is there anything I can cancel out over here? Nope. So -2 times 4 is, and 1 times 1 is. Do I have to put that on the bottom? Let's just leave it as a whole number. Number 58. What's going on with my variable? It's multiplying, so we have to, so this is exactly like the one we just did. I want you to work it out on your papers on your own, and then we'll come back around and talk about it.
When we multiply it, do we multiply it by the same number or is it the opposite so it becomes positive?
By the, when you, so like you'll multiply it by 4/3 and it'll be a negative 4/3.
So no, if you take each side by 3/4, right? To get rid of the 3/4.
Mm-hmm.
Does it? But it's right now a negative 3/4. So does it become a positive on each side, or it's still
No,
negative?
it's still negative.
Okay.
Oh, up there, up there, up there, up there, up there, up there.
We haven't done it.
Mm-hmm.
Work it out. I want to see your work. What'd you get? What'd you get? Start over there and do what? Except for you're missing one thing, Austin. It's a negative answer. It's a negative answer. Okay. 3 boys in the back. Austin and Valeria, you're not allowed to answer these questions because you have the right answers. Okay. What's my first step? What's going on with my variable right here? Blake, what's going on with the variable?
Mm-hmm.
Well, 3/4, -3/4 x means we're what? Multiplying. So in order to solve for x, we have to divide. We have to divide. So in order to divide, we have to flip and multiply. Okay? We flip that fraction over. So we're going to multiply by this same fraction flipped over. Those are going to cancel each other completely out. They just become a 1, a 1x. So now I have this fraction multiplication problem over here. Okay? What do I do for that, Mason? Cross cancel would be an option. I can't cross multiply. The 4 and the 2, I'm going to cross cancel those. The 2 becomes a what? And the 4 becomes a?
2.
Mikey, is there anything else I can cross cancel out of this fraction?
9 and 3.
The 9 and the 3. The 3 becomes a what?
4.
And the 9 becomes a? 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay. Then we multiply straight across. What's 3 times 2? And this had a negative in front of it, so I have to have a negative with my 6. There are 6 problems left. 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, and 70. I want you to work through those on your own. I want you to show your work just like we have been doing. Okay? You need to go to the doctor? Okay.